The Grand Hall of the Interstellar Council felt like a mausoleum of galactic hubris. Towering crystalline columns stretched toward a dome that mimicked the star-filled sky of some forgotten alien homeworld, each surface etched with millennia of diplomatic history. Jack Thompson stood alone at the center of this imposing chamber, a solitary human representative surrounded by delegates from civilizations that had conquered stars before humanity had learned to create fire. His dress uniform, a crisp midnight blue with subtle silver threading, was meticulously pressed, a deliberate contrast to the bizarre and often grotesque forms of the alien diplomats. To his left, a crystalline being from the Quantum Collective shimmered with internal light, its body a network of fractal patterns that shifted with each subtle movement. To his right, a massive reptilian diplomat from the Zorn Imperium towered nearly 3 meters tall, scales the color of burnished copper reflecting the chamber's ambient light. The proceedings had begun 3 standard galactic hours ago, a marathon of diplomatic posturing that would have crushed a less prepared representative. Jack remained calm, his dark eyes scanning the room with a calculated patience that belied the weight of humanity's future hanging in the balance. Zarlok, the senior Zorn diplomat, rose from his elevated platform. His movement was a cascade of muscle and scale, deliberately slow to emphasize his species' physical superiority. When he spoke, translation systems embedded in the chamber's architecture converted his deep, rumbling language into precise English. Representatives of the Galactic Confederation. Zarlok began, his voice a thunderous bass that seemed to vibrate through the floor. We have gathered to assess the potential integration of the most recent species to emerge from technological infancy. The human civilization, represented here by this singular individual, has demonstrated minimal progress in critical areas of technological and social development. A ripple of condescending murmurs spread through the chamber. Holographic displays materialized, showing Earth's most advanced technologies, which to the assembled aliens looked laughably primitive. Images of fossil fuel-powered vehicles, rudimentary space exploration vehicles, and early quantum computing prototypes were projected with an air of scientific ridicule. Jack Thompson remained motionless, a silent sentinel against the tide of galactic contempt. The Quantum Collective's representative, a being known as Lyra 9, floated forward. Unlike the physical presence of the Zorn diplomat, Lyra 9 was more energy than form, a complex network of light and mathematical patterns that somehow maintained a humanoid shape. Our comprehensive analysis indicates that the human species lacks fundamental understanding of quantum harmonization, interstellar navigation, and collective consciousness integration. Their individual-centric social structures and limited technological capabilities suggest they are centuries away from meaningful galactic participation. More holographic displays appeared, showcasing the vast technological achievements of the assembled civilizations. Faster-than-light communication networks that spanned thousands of light years, planets transformed and engineered at molecular levels, entire star systems controlled through thought-based quantum interfaces, and then a final pronouncement. Zarlok's 4 eyes, 2 primary and 2 supplementary, locked onto Jack Thompson. By unanimous decision of the Galactic Confederation, Earth is hereby classified as a Class F developing civilization. You are acknowledged as sentient, but are prohibited from independent interstellar travel, technological exchange, or direct participation in galactic governance for no less than 3 standard centuries. The chamber fell silent. The judgment was absolute, the tone dismissive. To the aliens, this was a merciful classification, a way of protecting a primitive species from its own potential self-destruction. Jack Thompson didn't flinch, didn't move. His right hand, hidden from view, subtly pressed a nearly invisible communication device tucked into his sleeve. A single, encoded message was transmitted, its contents known only to a select few back on Earth. The meeting was over. Humanity had been judged, branded as weak, dismissed as irrelevant. Little did the Galactic Confederation know that this moment would become the most significant miscalculation in their entire recorded history. 16 kilometers beneath the Rocky Mountains, a different kind of meeting was taking place. The underground complex known as Project Prometheus stretched across an area larger than most metropolitan cities, a testament to humanity's capacity for secrecy and strategic planning. Sarah Mitchell stood at the central command hub, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living information. Around her, a team of the world's most brilliant minds worked in perfect synchronization. Engineers, scientists, military strategists, and technological innovators representing every continent and dozens of disciplines. The transmission from Jack Thompson had triggered a protocol years in the making. A failsafe, a response. "Initiate deep scan protocol," Sarah commanded, her voice cutting through the low hum of quantum processors and advanced cooling systems. Massive screens flickered to life, displaying a global network of hidden technologies that would shock the Galactic Confederation beyond comprehension. Dr. Michael Rodriguez, head of adaptive technologies, approached with a data crystal that seemed to pulse with its own internal light. "The nanite swarm prototypes are ready," he said, his voice a mixture of excitement and calculated precision. "We've successfully integrated quantum entanglement communication protocols with self-replicating molecular structures. Each nanite is essentially a distributed intelligence network." The room held a collective breath. This wasn't just another technological development. This was a fundamental reimagining of what technology could be. Sarah zoomed in on a holographic display showing microscopic machines that could communicate, adapt, and reconstruct matter at an atomic level. "Our initial tests suggest we can transform entire planetary ecosystems in weeks, not centuries," she explained. "The aliens classified us as primitive. They have no idea what we've been developing in secret." A massive screen displayed a world map with hundreds of hidden facilities marked in subtle, almost invisible indicators. Some were deep underground, like the Rocky Mountain complex. Others were hidden in plain sight. Research centers disguised as ordinary buildings, floating platforms that looked like nothing more than industrial installations, orbital stations that appeared to be simple communication satellites. Dr. Emily Chen, a breakthrough expert in biosynthetic integration, pulled up a series of complex molecular diagrams. "We've solved the adaptive resonance problem," she said, her fingers tracing intricate patterns that seemed to move and breathe. "Our biological-technological interfaces can now create self-modifying systems that learn and transform faster than any known galactic technology." The room was a symphony of controlled chaos. Hundreds of the world's top minds, working in absolute secrecy for decades, were about to show the galaxy something unprecedented. "Global network check," Sarah called out. Confirmation lights blazed across the screens. Every hidden facility, every secret project was online and synchronized. Project Prometheus was more than a technological initiative. It was humanity's insurance policy, a carefully constructed response to centuries of potential external threats. While the rest of the world believed humanity was technologically infantile, this team had been preparing for first contact in the most comprehensive way possible. Michael Rodriguez pulled up a final simulation. It showed a complete transformation of a hostile planetary environment. Toxic atmosphere converting to breathable air, barren landscapes blooming with engineered ecosystems, entire planetary structures rebuilt at a molecular level in a matter of weeks. "They think we're weak," Sarah muttered, a dangerous smile playing across her lips. "We're going to redefine what technological capability means." The hidden arsenal was more than a collection of advanced technologies. It was a statement, a promise. Humanity would not be dismissed. As the team continued their preparations, a countdown began, not just to a technological reveal, but to a moment that would fundamentally alter humanity's place in the universe. The Galactic Confederation had no idea what was coming. The abandoned research outpost orbited a dead star in the far reaches of the Vega Quadrant. Once a cutting-edge scientific installation belonging to the Zorn Imperium, It had been left to decay after a catastrophic energy experiment gone wrong. Radiation levels made the entire complex uninhabitable, a tomb of failed scientific ambition. Michael Rodriguez watched through a remote quantum link as the first wave of nanite swarms approached the derelict station. Each microscopic machine was a marvel of engineering, a quantum-entangled intelligence smaller than a human blood cell, yet capable of processing more information than entire alien supercomputers. Deployment sequence initiated, he announced to the team back in the underground facility. The holographic displays showed multiple perspectives, satellite imaging, quantum resolution microscopic views, and real-time molecular transformation maps. The nanites struck the station's exterior like a silent storm. Where other technological systems would have required weeks or months of careful reconstruction, these machines worked with impossible speed and precision. Radiation particles were broken down, toxic molecular structures dismantled at the atomic level, and new structural configurations began to emerge. Dr. Emily Chen leaned forward, her breath catching in her throat. "Transformation rate is exceeding all projected models," she whispered. The holographic displays showed impossible changes happening in real time. Decayed metal structures were being rebuilt, molecular bonds restructured, entire sections of the station regenerating with a speed that defied known physical limitations. Within hours, what had been a radioactive dead zone began to transform. Metallic surfaces renewed themselves, creating structures more stable and resilient than the original installation. Environmental systems that had been dead for decades suddenly hummed with life, purifying the surrounding space with unprecedented efficiency. Across the galaxy, scientific monitoring stations began to detect the impossible transformation. The first reports came as confusion, then disbelief, then growing alarm. Dr. Sarah Mitchell tracked the global communication networks, watching as alien scientific communities began to react. "They think it's a malfunction," she said, a hint of sardonic humor in her voice. "They can't comprehend what they're seeing." The nanite swarm was more than a reconstruction technology. It was a complete reimagining of environmental adaptation. Each nanite worked as part of a distributed intelligence network, making instantaneous decisions, communicating faster than light through quantum entanglement, rebuilding matter with a precision that bordered on the miraculous. At the Quantum Collective's primary research station, lead scientists gathered around impossibly complex monitoring systems. Their usual translucent, energy-based forms flickered with confusion. Streams of data showed the impossible, a complete planetary reconstruction happening in a matter of hours, not centuries. "This defies every known principle of matter reconstruction," one of the senior researchers noted, its energy form pulsing with agitation. "The molecular reconfiguration rate exceeds anything in our technological archives by multiple orders of magnitude." Michael Rodriguez allowed himself a small smile. The demonstration was just beginning. As the transformation continued, the station began to do more than just rebuild itself. It started to generate its own sustainable ecosystem. Engineered microorganisms, part biological, part technological, began to populate the reconstructed environments. Atmospheric processors converted the surrounding space into a habitable zone, creating breathable air and stable environmental conditions. The Zorn Imperium's primary research network began to light up with emergency communications. Preliminary reports suggested that an entire research station, previously considered a total loss, was not just being restored, but was becoming more advanced than its original configuration. "Full ecosystem generation is at 73%, Emily Chen announced. The holographic displays showed complex biological and technological systems interweaving, creating environments that were part machine, part living organism. By the time 12 hours had passed, the dead research station had become a fully functional, self-sustaining installation. More than that, it had become a testament to human technological potential. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was anything but weak. As Michael Rodriguez transmitted the final reconstruction data, he knew this was just the first demonstration. The Galactic Confederation had no idea what was coming. The simulation chamber of the Galactic Confederation stretched for kilometers, a vast holographic environment capable of generating the most complex tactical scenarios imaginable. 12-dimensional battle spaces materialized and dissolved with each breath, representing terrains from 1,000 different worlds. The walls pulsed with energy, monitoring systems that could track millions of tactical variables simultaneously. Jack Thompson sat in the human command station, a compact interface that looked almost primitive compared to the elaborate alien systems surrounding him. His team, 6 of the most brilliant tactical minds from Earth's combined military and strategic research divisions, watched with razor-sharp focus. "Simulation parameters loading," announced Zara Kovalenko, the team's lead tactical analyst. Her fingers moved across a holographic interface, layers of strategic data flowing like liquid information. Preliminary scenario: multi-front conflict across 6 planetary systems, variable environmental conditions, technological disparity set to maximum. The alien administrators had designed the scenario to be unwinnable, a deliberate humiliation. The holographic display began to take shape. Multiple planetary systems materialized, each with unique environmental challenges: toxic atmospheres, gravitational anomalies, communication-disrupting radiation fields, terrain that shifted unpredictably, technological barriers that would cripple most conventional military strategies. Objective: the Zorn Imperium's simulation master proclaimed, his 4 eyes scanning the human team with open contempt: maintain territorial integrity and prevent complete systemic collapse for a minimum of 72 standard time units. Jack Thompson said nothing. His team exchanged nearly imperceptible glances, a communication more sophisticated than any alien scanning system could comprehend. The simulation began. Where alien tactical systems relied on predictive algorithms and established strategic doctrines, the human team moved differently. They didn't just react to the simulation. They began to understand its underlying logic, its fundamental rules, and then systematically began to subvert those rules. On the first simulated planetary front, where gravitational instability should have made conventional movement impossible, the human team deployed a network of quantum-entangled microdrones. These weren't just navigation tools. They were adaptive intelligence units that could reconfigure themselves instantaneously, creating mobile navigation networks that literally rewrote the rules of movement in real time. Zara Kovalenko tracked the developing scenario with a predatory intensity. "We're not just responding to the environment," she muttered. "We're negotiating with it." The alien observation team began to look uncomfortable. The humans weren't just surviving the impossible scenario, they were transforming it. When communication networks were disrupted by radiation fields, the human team didn't panic. Instead, they used the disruption itself as a tactical advantage, creating communication patterns that mimicked natural background radiation. Their communication became invisible, adaptive, almost living. "They're using the simulation's own constraints as camouflage," one of the quantum collective observers whispered, a note of genuine shock in its energy-based voice. By the 36-unit mark, the human team had not only prevented systemic collapse, they had begun to expand their operational territory. Tactical units moved with a fluidity that defied traditional military doctrine. They weren't fighting the environment. They were becoming part of it. Jack Thompson remained calm, his tactical decisions seeming almost intuitive. But each choice was the result of decades of strategic research, psychological training, and a fundamental understanding of adaptability that the alien civilizations had never comprehended. Simulation complexity increasing, the Zorn administrator announced, increasing environmental variables to levels that had defeated every previous participant. The human team didn't just adapt, they evolved. Micro-tactical units began to communicate and reconfigure themselves, creating living networks of strategic intelligence. Where a traditional military would see obstacles, they saw opportunities. Every limitation became a potential advantage. When the simulation finally concluded, the chamber fell silent. The humans had not just survived. They had transformed the entire conceptual understanding of strategic engagement. Jack Thompson looked up, meeting the stunned gaze of the alien administrators. No words were necessary. The war game was over, and humanity had just changed everything. The laboratory complex stretched across 3 underground levels, a cathedral of scientific innovation hidden beneath the desolate landscapes of the Chilean Atacama Desert. Dr. Emily Chen stood at the epicenter of humanity's most revolutionary biological research project, surrounded by containment chambers that defied every known principle of life sciences. "Initiate Phase 3, she commanded, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what was about to occur. Massive holographic displays came to life, revealing intricate molecular structures that seemed to breathe and pulse with their own intelligence. These weren't just organisms, they were living technologies, biological systems so advanced they blurred the lines between life and machine. The quantum collective had long believed biological adaptation was a slow, predictable process. Controlled, limited, they were about to be proven catastrophically wrong. The first test subject was a microscopic organism harvested from the most extreme environment on Earth, a deep-sea thermal vent where temperatures reached near boiling and pressure would crush conventional life forms. Dr. Chen had spent years studying this single-cell organism, understanding its fundamental genetic structure. Now, she would transform it. A quantum resonance chamber activated, bombarding the organism with a carefully calibrated series of molecular signals. On the holographic displays, the organism's genetic structure began to shift. Not randomly, not through crude genetic manipulation, but through a precise, intelligent reconfiguration that seemed to happen at the speed of thought. Genetic plasticity at 97.3%, announced Michael Rodriguez, tracking the molecular changes. Adaptive response exceeding all previous theoretical models. The organism began to change. Its cellular structure became more than just adaptable. It became a living computational system. Genetic markers rearranged themselves with a speed and precision that made traditional genetic engineering look like crude stone tools. Within minutes, the organism could survive environments that would instantly destroy any known life form. Extreme cold, extreme heat, toxic atmospheric conditions, radiation levels that would obliterate complex organisms. It wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. Preliminary analysis complete, Emily said, her voice carrying a mixture of scientific excitement and something deeper, triumph. The Galactic Confederation's biological research teams would be watching. This was more than a scientific demonstration. This was a statement. A series of additional test chambers activated. Organisms from Earth's most challenging environments, deep-sea creatures, extremophiles from volcanic regions, life forms that existed in the most inhospitable conditions, began to undergo similar transformations. Each organism became something more than its original form. Living computational systems, adaptive biological networks that could reconfigure themselves instantaneously, creatures that could survive, and potentially terraform, environments that would kill conventional life forms in microseconds. We're not just changing organisms, Michael observed. We're creating living technologies. The implications were staggering. These weren't just biological adaptations. They were living systems that could think, adapt, and transform at a molecular level. Biological computers, adaptive life forms that could potentially survive in environments across the galaxy. On the primary display, a complex molecular diagram showed the transformation process. It wasn't just genetic modification. It was a complete reimagining of what biological life could be. The Quantum Collective's biological research teams had spent millennia developing adaptive biological systems. They believed they understood the fundamental limits of life. Humanity was about to prove them wrong. Prepare for comprehensive transmission, Emily commanded. The research would be broadcast across secured scientific networks, a deliberate message to the Galactic Confederation. We are not weak, the demonstration would say. We are something entirely new. As the final transformation sequences completed, Dr. Emily Chen allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. Biological mastery was just the beginning. The Interstellar Council chamber had been reconfigured. Gone was the previous meeting's smug atmosphere of condescension. Now, a palpable tension crackled through the air like barely contained electricity. Jack Thompson stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by holographic displays that told a story the alien delegates had never anticipated. Each projection represented a different aspect of humanity's unprecedented capabilities: technological, biological, strategic. The accumulated evidence was nothing short of revolutionary. Zarlok of the Zorn Imperium shifted uncomfortably. His 4 eyes, once filled with contempt, now betrayed a hint of uncertainty. The crystalline representative of the quantum collective flickered with what could only be described as technological anxiety. Distinguished members of the Galactic Confederation, Jack began, his voice calm and measured. We are here to address the fundamental misunderstanding that has characterized our initial interactions. The first holographic display activated. It showed the complete transformation of the abandoned Zorn research station, a facility they had written off as permanently uninhabitable. Molecular-level reconstructions played out in stunning detail, revealing how human nanite technologies had not just repaired the station, but elevated it to a level of functionality that exceeded its original design. "This is impossible," muttered a delegate from the Hydrian collective, its tentacle-like appendages trembling. Jack continued, "What you've classified as primitive is, in fact, a fundamentally different approach to technological and biological development. We do not simply adapt. We transform." The next display showcased Dr. Emily Chen's biological research. Organisms that could survive in conditions that would obliterate any known life form danced across the holographic projections. Each transformation was a masterpiece of scientific innovation. Living systems that could think, adapt, and reconfigure themselves at a molecular level. Sarah Mitchell's voice cut through the chamber's communication systems. Our technological approach is not about linear progression. It's about comprehensive transformation. The Quantum Collective's lead representative attempted to interject. Your species lacks the fundamental quantum harmonization required for. Jack interrupted, a rare breach of diplomatic protocol. The holographic displays shifted, showing the results of the military simulation. Tactical systems that didn't just respond to environments, but fundamentally reimagined them. Strategic approaches that turned limitations into advantages, with a speed and creativity that defied conventional understanding. Limitations, Jack said, are merely opportunities for innovation. Michael Rodriguez's research on adaptive technologies came next. Technological systems that were part machine, part living organism. Communication networks that could camouflage themselves, reconfigure instantaneously, become invisible to traditional scanning methods. The alien delegates were no longer dismissive. They were afraid. Zara Kovalenko, the team's tactical analyst, presented the final piece of evidence, a comprehensive overview of human potential, not as a static measurement, but as a dynamic, constantly evolving system. Each breakthrough was not an endpoint, but a starting point for further innovation. We are not asking for permission, Jack stated clearly. We are informing you of a new reality. The Hadrian Collective's representative made a fatal mistake. You cannot be serious. Your species is. Jack's response was immediate. The holographic displays merged into a comprehensive demonstration of human potential. Technological reconstruction, biological adaptation, strategic innovation, each system more advanced than the last, each showing not just capability, but a fundamental reimagining of what technology and life could be. We are not weak, Jack said, his voice cutting through the chamber like a knife. We are something entirely new. Silence fell. The alien delegates looked at one another, the usual hierarchies of the Galactic Confederation suddenly meaningless. Zarlok, who had once dismissed humanity as irrelevant, spoke first. We may have made a significant error in our initial assessment. The diplomatic confrontation was over, but the real conversation was just beginning. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. The solar radiation event struck without warning. A massive stellar flare erupted from a dying star in the Kepler quadrant, sending out a catastrophic wave of energy that threatened to obliterate multiple alien colonies. Preliminary scans showed total population at risk: 3.2 billion sentient beings from 6 different civilizations. Michael Rodriguez stood in the Global Response Center, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that tracked the unfolding disaster in real time. Beside him, a team of international specialists from every corner of the globe worked with a precision that bordered on orchestral. "Radiation levels exceeding critical thresholds," announced Dr. Sarah Chen, tracking the incoming wave of destructive energy. "Traditional shield technologies will fail in approximately 47 minutes. The Galactic Confederation's emergency response teams were already in complete disarray. Their most advanced protective systems were proving inadequate against the scale of the stellar event. Evacuation protocols collapsed under the weight of the impending disaster. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. "Deployment sequence initiated," Michael commanded. A series of quantum-entangled satellite networks activated. Technologies so advanced they made the aliens' emergency systems look like children's toys. The first line of defense was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Adaptive shield generators, part technological, part biological, began to form around the threatened colonies. These weren't simple energy barriers. They were living, thinking systems that could analyze and respond to the incoming radiation at a molecular level. Zara Kovalenko managed the communication networks, creating instantaneous translation and coordination systems that cut through the chaos of multiple alien civilizations' emergency protocols. Where other systems would have collapsed under the complexity, human technologies created order from potential catastrophe. "Shield integrity at 92% and rising," she reported, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the operation. The rescue effort wasn't just about protection. It was about transformation. Adaptive nanite swarms deploy across the threatened colonies, creating micro-environmental bubbles that could withstand the incoming radiation. These weren't simple protective measures. They were complete ecosystem reconstruction systems that could rebuild and protect entire planetary regions in real time. Dr. Emily Chen watched the molecular-level reconstructions with a mixture of scientific excitement and humanitarian passion. Each nanite was more than a technological tool. It was a living system capable of making instantaneous decisions to preserve life. The alien colonies watched in stunned disbelief. Their most advanced technologies were being rendered obsolete by a species they had dismissed as primitive mere months ago. Radiation absorption rates exceeding all theoretical models, one of the Quantum Collective's lead researchers reported, his energy-based form flickering with a combination of fear and fascination. As the solar flare reached its peak, human technologies did something unprecedented. They didn't just protect. They transformed the very nature of the threat. Quantum resonance shields began to actually convert the incoming radiation into usable energy. Entire planetary systems that should have been completely destroyed were not just saved. They were being improved. Michael Rodriguez allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. This was more than a rescue operation. This was a demonstration of humanity's true potential. The final stages of the operation were nothing short of miraculous. Planetary ecosystems that had been on the brink of total destruction were being rebuilt. Radiation-damaged molecular structures were being repaired at a speed that defied conventional understanding. When the solar event finally passed, the results were clear. Not a single life was lost. Multiple planetary systems had been not just saved, but fundamentally improved. The Zorn Imperium's lead emergency coordinator could only watch in stunned silence. The same civilization they had dismissed as weak had just saved billions of lives across multiple star systems. "We're not finished," Michael said quietly to his team. "This is just the beginning." As emergency communication networks lit up across the galaxy, one message became clear: Humanity was no longer just another species. They were a force of unprecedented potential. Redemption was complete. But the real story was just beginning. The Interstellar Council chamber had been completely redesigned. Gone were the rigid hierarchical structures that had defined galactic diplomacy for millennia. In their place stood a circular configuration, a physical manifestation of the fundamental shift that humanity had brought to the cosmos. Jack Thompson stood at the center of this new configuration, no longer an outsider, but a pivotal figure in a transformed galactic understanding. Delegates from dozens of civilizations watched with a mixture of respect, fear, and genuine curiosity. "We are proposing a new model of interstellar cooperation," Jack began, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's transformative journey. The holographic displays behind him told a comprehensive story, not just of technological achievement, but of a fundamentally different approach to existence: molecular reconstructions, adaptive biological systems, strategic innovations that redefine the very concept of problem-solving. Avzarlok of the Zorn Imperium, once the most vocal critic of humanity, now sat as a key advocate for the proposed galactic restructuring. His 4 eyes scanned the assembled delegates with a wisdom that spoke of a profound transformation in understanding. "Humanity has demonstrated capabilities that challenge our entire conceptual framework," Sarlacc stated. "We are not dealing with a developing civilization. We are witnessing the emergence of a new paradigm of intelligent life." Sarah Mitchell presented the comprehensive overview. Each technological breakthrough was not just a singular achievement, but a window into a fundamentally different way of understanding existence. Adaptive technologies that could transform entire planetary ecosystems. Biological systems that redefined the boundaries between life and technology. Strategic approaches that turned limitations into opportunities with unprecedented speed and creativity. The Quantum Collective's lead representative, once a being of pure energy that had dismissed humanity as irrelevant, now proposed a complete restructuring of the Galactic Confederation's classification systems. Dr. Emily Chen unveiled the most revolutionary proposal: a new collaborative research initiative that would combine the best of multiple civilizations' technological and biological understanding. Not as a hierarchical system, but as a truly collaborative network. "We are not proposing dominance," Emily explained. "We are proposing a fundamental reimagining of collective potential." Michael Rodriguez tracked the statistical models. The potential for technological and biological advancement was exponential. Civilizations that had been stagnant for millennia would now have the opportunity to grow, to transform, to reimagine their own potential. The rescue operation during the solar radiation event had been the final proof. Humanity had not just saved multiple civilizations, they had demonstrated a level of adaptive capability that fundamentally challenged every existing understanding of technological and biological potential. Zara Kovalenko presented the strategic implications. It wasn't about military dominance. It was about a new approach to problem-solving that could revolutionize everything from environmental restoration to interstellar communication. "We are proposing a living network," Zara explained. "Not a static system, but a continuously adapting, learning collective." The proposed new galactic classification system would be completely restructured. No longer would civilizations be ranked by their current technological capabilities. Instead, they would be evaluated by their potential for adaptation, innovation, and collaborative growth. Jack Thompson's final presentation was a masterpiece of diplomatic innovation. A comprehensive framework that would allow every civilization to contribute, to grow, to transform. The rigid hierarchies that had defined galactic interactions for millennia would be dismantled. "We are not asking for permission," Jack said, echoing his earlier statement. "We are presenting a new possibility." The silence that followed was not the silence of defeat. It was the silence of genuine contemplation. The Hadrian Collective's representative spoke first. "We accept the proposal." One by one, the delegates began to voice their agreement. Not out of fear, not out of submission, but out of a genuine recognition of a fundamentally new approach to collective existence. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had transformed it. As the final agreements were signed, Michael Rodriguez allowed himself a moment of reflection. This was more than a diplomatic victory. This was the beginning of something entirely new. The galaxy would never be the same.